Greetings, family. I am Brother Minister Ali, and I am coming before you on behalf of the People's Prison Program. And today we would like to discuss very briefly about the shooting that took place on August 9th, 2014. Of course, from watching the news, I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with the death of the 18-year-old Michael Brown and the officer that shot at least 12 rounds at him. That's Officer Darren Wilson. Today, it was announced that he resigned from the police force. However, these 12 shots, at least 6 of them are reported to have hit Michael, and according to the most reliable reports, one of them hit him in his head, one in the eye, and the rest to his body. And there has been a lot of hoopla as to exactly the sequence of events that led up to that. Of course, classism and racism plays its role. However, today I would like to speak on behalf of the legal ramifications of this case, because I'm pretty sure the federal government is going to step in and look at it from a legal perspective. And if the district attorney on the state level would have looked at it from a legal perspective and did his job the way he normally would do his job, I believe that in this case, there would not have been what I would consider to be justice, but at least there would be a semblance of justice. At least the family would have had their day in court. Unfortunately, that did not take place. That caused tensions to rise. That caused emotions to go into the realm of emotions, and the people rebelled. The media, the mainstream, called it a riot. The people would consider it rebellion. Some called it looting. Others would call it liberation, depending on your perspective. However, people on this planet, including the early Americans, have always fought against injustice, fought against what they considered tyrants, a tyranny. They fought against the crown. They fought against the British establishment, who was the law, who said it was the law, for example, to pay certain taxes. However, certain citizens in that day and time decided to toss some of the tea overboard and had that Boston Tea Party. So it's not new that human beings get sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, it's sad on one sense, but it should have been expected. People cannot keep taking stress like that, especially our young people. They don't have the patience of us older folks. But today, I would like for us to understand something that I was looking at regarding the legal aspect of this case. The district attorney, for some odd reason, and when I say odd, it's not necessarily odd to me, because one of the things the media downplayed was the fact that long ago, as far back as the year 2000, this same district attorney had 2 other officers gun a man down, black man, killed him, and he made a similar move and made sure that the grand jury did not indict them. So he knew exactly what he was doing. And other district attorneys, other lawyers, other judges on the state as well as federal level knew exactly what he was doing and the outcome. On my Facebook page, I explained there's going to be no justice in this case. Of course not. It's not going to happen. They're not going to indict that man. You know what I mean? And one of the reasons are because the people was not organized and educated properly as far as their human rights, their legal rights. The district attorney should have reclused himself in this case. In this particular case, he said that he wanted to be fair and impartial. So what he did was turn all of the evidence over to a grand jury. He knew that the masses of people did not understand what he really was doing. You don't give the evidence over to a grand jury. There's no need for that. If the district attorney, if any district attorney want a grand jury to come back with an indictment, he or she would simply present what charge they think the officer is guilty of. In this case, the district attorney didn't tell the grand jury what charge he think the officer should be charged with. And the media and the pundits, after the fact, they began to highlight all the different technical terms and the blood spatter evidence and the distance away from the blood, and did he have his hands up or down, and none of that. All of that was the issues that a jury, a petite jury, should have dealt with. Now, a grand jury generally is 23 U.S. citizens. Every state has its own laws, so where Michael was shot, Michael Brown in the vicinity of Ferguson, Missouri, that's not the hood. All that stuff they showing them, taking some cigars out the store and all that. Keep in mind that's a suburb. Keep in mind that's someone from another country in his community owning a business. It's typical, you know. You have people from other places coming to communities, set up shops, extract funds from that particular community, has a bad relationship with the community, and we don't know what happened before he took those cigars. But those types of things are very, 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 very common to black men in general. So that part didn't shock me. However, the part that was appalling, if you will, was the fact that they did not highlight what exactly is excessive force. Excessive force is critical in this particular case because it's not a trial yet. You're just talking probable cause here. They're talking about reasonable doubt, and what that have to do with anything on a grand jury level? Grand juries don't deal with reasonable doubt. The officer is not charged. There's no trial yet. The grand jury is just simply there saying, should this case go to trial? And from the position where the officer is saying that he shot 12 times trying to kill this man, and he hit him in his head and in his eye and, you know, shot his body all up. And by his own testimony, he's saying one thing here, changing the story here, then changing the story there. They should have been like, oh, you said this here, that's enough right there to take the case to trial. But more, you're saying the suspect was unarmed and you shot him twice, and for whatever reasons, he ran from you. And instead of calling for backup, you felt as though you should have got out of your car. So you got out of the car and went after him. And that's where the other shootings took place. 10 more shots, if you will. That is more than enough for a grand jury indictment. That is more than enough for charges to be legally filed. Maybe he would have been found not guilty at trial. Maybe he would have been found not guilty of a criminal offense, but violating his civil rights. And the reason I say civil rights are many, but not to inject race into the matter. But suffice it to say that back in 1865, right after slavery, the U.S. Supreme Court, not the state Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, in Graham versus Connor, they explained that it's not necessarily a due process issue. It's not necessarily a cruel and unusual punishment issue. However, anytime an officer discharges a firearm and kill someone, the critical part of that analysis should be, did that officer violate that citizen's state and U.S. constitutional right to be securing that person? Because under the Fourth Amendment, we all have the right to be securing our person, not just against unlawful searches, but also unlawful seizures. And flight is not a crime. Running is not a crime. If you get shot 2 times, you may run because you're terrified. If you get shot 2 times, you may run because you're disorientated. Who knows what's going through his brain at that particular moment? Likewise, it was real peculiar, if you will, that when I seen the immediate photographs of the officers, I wondered, is he high? Is this dude drunk? Like, he seemed intoxicated. So I was curious, like, did they do an analysis on his urine, on his blood? Did they do a breathalyzer? Did they see, was he intoxicated at the time of the shooting? And for whatever strange reason, they didn't. And all of those variables come into play, as well as many, 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 many more. However, we need to understand excessive force. Excessive force is actually not even defined in the United States of America. It goes on a case-by-case basis. And personally, I believe that that's fair. It should go on a case-by-case basis. But there is a generic explanation or definition for excessive force. Excessive force basically is saying, in layman terms, did the officer go beyond the force that was necessary to make the arrest? The district attorney either made a mistake or outright lied to the grand jury and explained to them 2 prongs. And from a legal perspective, that was a red flag to me. Because his thing was like, not just excessive force, or did he use the force necessary, but they put the extra prong in there of, was he making a lawful arrest? That's irrelevant. If you're making a lawful arrest, if a suspect is absolutely wrong, hypothetically speaking, say a suspect committed a crime, say Michael Brown, for example, just imagine this for a moment, say Michael Brown robbed the store where he was reportedly taking the cigars from. Say he had a gun at the time, and say he shot at the policeman on his way from committing a felony, which is wrong. And say the officer shot back at him and shot him 2 times, and say he fell. And the officer came over there, and when he got over there, he told the officer, "You shot me." And he spit on that man. Absolutely wrong again. He spit on the cop that shot him while he's doing the robbery. He's in the wrong. And he spit on that officer. And the officer handcuffs him. And when he handcuffs him, he kicks him. That kick is excessive force, because that kick is not necessary to make the lawful arrest. So when an officer discharges a gun, or an officer sees a suspect run and he's unarmed, and he gets out his car and goes after him, and he's going after him during the shooting when there is no shooting on his side, and the allegations of he attacked him, whatever, he's showing who knows what that's supposed to have been? Some scratches or something, maybe, you know, a little tenderness, but he's not hurt. I mean, for whatever case, whatever happened. But he fired 12 times at the suspect, shooting 12 times at him. A bullet could have missed him, went down the street, killed the little old lady sitting on her porch, killed the little guy delivering the newspaper, hit another officer coming to the scene. So excessive force is an important element in law and justice. And it's important that we look at, did this officer use excessive force? And the second prong is, did the district attorney knowingly or unknowingly give the wrong instructions to the grand jury? The People's Prison Program will be looking at that, analyzing it, and addressing it. So we would like for you to join us at www.peoplesprisonprogram.com. That's 3 W's. www.peoplesprisonprogram.com. Because the people need to understand their human rights as well as their legal rights, because we want freedom, justice, and equality for all people. Because without freedom, justice, and equality, the people resort to anarchy and chaos. And when we have freedom, justice, and equality, it gives us the ability to live together as social creatures. But when there's injustice, we're going to keep seeing this. And sad to say, we just seen a video of a little 12-year-old getting gunned down within 2 seconds for having a fake gun. So a lot of this stuff we need to mentor the youth on. We need to explain to them in this day and time, you cannot play with guns in the public. It's not like back in the day when little Tommy had his little cap gun. Nowadays, these guns look like real Glocks. These toy rifles look like real assault rifles. A lot of people got cell phones. And if somebody see you outside with your toy gun, playing with your friend, joking around, and they call the police, and the police come run up on you, and you have a toy rifle or a toy gun, we're in an age where there's too many shootings. We're in an age where for Black Friday, according to the FBI reports, every 3 people in this country that legally can get a gun was ordering a gun every second. Every second, 3 people ordered guns for Black Friday. That's a whole lot of guns. That's a whole lot of irresponsible, untrained, untaught people that are armed in the United States of America. So you can only expect more chaos in the future. You can only expect more shootings. The Trayvon Martins, the Michael Browns, there's going to be somebody else gets shot next month. Somebody else gets shot the month after that. And it's just going to keep on happening until each one of us start teaching one of us. To each one of us come out our house, get outside of our church, get outside of our mosques, our temples and synagogues, our schools, and stop waiting on the ministers and the rabbis and imams and politicians and so-called leaders. But individually, we have to get out there on the streets with our own children, our own nephews and nieces and cousins, our own neighbors, the youth in the hood, the elders, the girls and the boys, the blacks and the whites. And we have to talk to them, mentor them, help themselves. We have to try to prevent the violence by focusing on survival in the forefront. by teaching them prevention. By preventing violence, we limit violence. We live in a time of chaos, but we live in a time of potential. But if each one of us do our part, I believe that we can make a difference. I'm just a humble soldier in the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. I intend to do my part. I don't have all the answers. I don't have the ability to save everyone. I can only reach out and do my part. And I humbly ask that you reach out and do your part. Thank you for listening to this message. I'm going to include a couple of events that's going to give you a better summary on the events that led to this particular sad day. My thoughts and prayers within and works without go to Michael Brown's family, who I know is hurting right now, and they're frustrated and dissatisfied. And we want you to know we love you, we're with you, and we want freedom, justice, and equality for you and your family also, because we understand that the next life that we save may be our own, and the next life that is lost may be our own. The struggle continues. Again, go to www.peoplesprisonprogram.com for more information. Peace.